What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So we're going to take a look and a listen to Senator Bernie Sanders. He's going to be talking about the infrastructure bills, the first infrastructure bill and the second infrastructure bill. And we were anticipating a vote last week. Obviously, that did not happen. And so now we're looking at a stalemate. And we don't know how long this is going to last. At this point, we don't know where they're going to go. And so we're going to listen to Bernie Sanders explain where he thinks they're going to go. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. But first off, on this channel, we talk about news that matters. If that sounds like something interesting to you, please subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell notification. That way you'll get notified anytime we put out a video. And like always, if you see my name and a picture of me in the comment section, make sure you also see a check mark next to my name. That check mark signifies that it's me. If you do not see that check mark, it's not me. It's someone trying to impersonate me. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get right to this clip here. It's probably about 9 minutes. I'm going to talk as we watch it. And then at the end, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think the Democratic Party needs to do right now when it comes to these infrastructure bills. The Democrats have talked about a few different strategies, but I'm going to tell you what I think needs to happen when it comes to the first infrastructure bill and the second infrastructure bill and getting them both passed in a timely manner. Because sure, you have politicians talking about, yeah, it's going to get done, but when is it going to get done? How long is it going to take? Is it going to be that 6 weeks that President Biden brought up? He said 6 hours, 6 minutes, 6 weeks. Is it going to be closer to that 6 week period? We can't afford that. So I'm going to explain to you the strategy that I think they should take in order to get this done in a timely fashion. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the clip. Here we go.
And joining me now, the senator in the middle of it all, budget chairman in the Senate, Bernie Sanders. Senator Sanders, thank you for joining us. The bottom line, where do things stand now?
Well, I think we're going to make real progress, and I think, Jonathan, we're going to do what the American people want us to do. And the American people are very clear. They want to substantially lower the cost of prescription. They want to expand home health care so that people are not forced out of their homes into nursing homes. They want to expand Medicare so that elderly people can have dental care, can have hearing aids, can have eyeglasses. They want us to address the existential threat of climate change. And I'll tell you what else they want. They are sick and tired of the rich getting richer and not paying their fair share of taxes. And they want this reconciliation bill to be paid for by doing away with the loopholes that the wealthy and large corporations enjoy. So we have the American people very, very strongly on our side. We've got the President of the United States on our side. We've got 96% of the members of the Democratic caucus in the House on our side. We got all but 2 senators at this point and the Democratic caucus on our side. We're going to win this thing. We're going to pass a strong infrastructure bill to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure, and we're going to pass a reconciliation bill.
So, and all the stuff that he's talking about, this is very popular when it comes to the American people. They are for a lot of the stuff that he just mentioned. But you do have the 2 senators that are against that top line number. So they're going to have to come down off the number. There's no other way around it. Even the Senator Sinema and Senator Manchin, they agree with a lot of what's in this bill, the second infrastructure bill. However, that top line number is what they're uncomfortable with, so it has to come down.
All right, I want to get to one of those 2 senators that is not with you right now. Senator Sinema, as we heard Rachel Scott refer to, put out a lengthy statement overnight about the failure of the House to vote on that infrastructure bill. She said, in part, the failure of the U.S. House to hold a vote on Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act is inexcusable and deeply disappointing for communities across our country. Denying Americans millions of good-paying jobs, safer roads, cleaner water, more reliable electricity, and better broadband only hurts everyday families. She accuses you, Senator, and other progressives of pulling off what she calls an ineffective stunt and holding that infrastructure bill hostage to the larger social infrastructure bill. Your response?
Well, I think Senator Sinema is wrong. I think from day one, Jonathan, it has been clear. President of the United States has said it. Speaker of the House Pelosi has made it clear. Majority Leader in the Senate Schumer has made it clear. Both of these bills are going forward in tandem. We've got to pass them both. I voted for the infrastructure bill. It is an important bill. I'm a former mayor. I know how much we've got to address our crumbling infrastructure and create jobs there. But I also know that elderly people in this country cannot chew their food because they don't have teeth in their mouth. I know that the American people are sick and tired of paying 10 times more for prescription than the people of Canada and in other countries. I know that there are young people out there who would love the opportunity to get a higher education but can't afford community college. We're going to make 2 years of community college tuition free. And I also know that the scientists are telling us that if we do not act boldly in terms of cutting carbon emissions, that the planet we're leaving our kids and grandchildren will be increasingly uninhabitable. And let me also say this, Jonathan. We're not just taking on or dealing with Senators Manchin or Senator Sinema. We're taking on the entire ruling class of this country. Right now, the companies, the healthcare, the companies, the fossil fuel industry are spending hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to prevent us from doing what the American people want. And this really is a test of whether or not American democracy can work. The Republican Party is bought and paid for by the pharmaceutical industry. They're not going to do anything. But I hope very much, and I expect, that the Democratic caucus and the president, I know he will, stand firm and tell the companies, stop ripping us off. Well, tell the insurance companies that the American people need, elderly people need dental care, hearing aids and eyeglasses, people need home health care, our young people need quality child care that they deserve.
So let me ask you about where the president is on this. As I understand it, he has now floated a $2 trillion top-line number on this broader bill. You are at 3.5. I remember you initially wanted closer to $6 trillion. Are you comfortable with the idea of cutting this down to about $2 trillion?
No, well, first of all, I'm not sure that that's accurate. As you know, there's a lot of gossip that goes on. What the president has said is that there's going to have to be some give and take, and I think that that's right. I think, if anything, Jonathan, when we especially talk about the crisis of climate change and the need to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel, the $6 trillion that I originally proposed was probably too little. $3.5 trillion should be a minimum, but I accept that there's going to have to be give and take. But at the end of the day, the real
okay, so give and take, but not $2 trillion. That's not enough. Because the president also said that a smaller investment could create historic achievements, but $2 trillion is not enough.
What the president is saying is that what we are trying to do is for the working families of this country, for the children, for the elderly, we're trying to pass the most consequential piece of legislation since the Great Depression, and he's right. You know.
And at this point, and I think what's going to have to start, they're going to have to start focusing on is that they're trying to do too much, I think. This is just my opinion. And when I say they're trying to do too much, you can shorten the timeline and you can have these different programs, these same programs that he's talking about right now, but just for a shorter period of time. And I think they're trying to do too much. And by them trying to do too much on their own, without any support from Republicans, it's impossible. Because you don't have Republicans that are stepping up. You don't have the two senators, Senator Sinema, Senator Manchin, that are stepping up. So it's just not going to happen. So I think that they're going to need to come to that reality. We're trying to do too much. Let's do what we can now, and then we can continue doing some more things in the future.
So the bottom line is we have got to pass it. We've got to pass the infrastructure bill. And the American people are going to have to stand up. You know what bothers me about this whole thing? Poll after poll shows what we are doing is exactly what the American people want. It's not what the big money interest wants, not what the lobbyist wants. It's what the American people want. And we got to do it.
Now, Senator Manchin's the other senator in the middle of this. He's been consistent. We actually had him on this program back in July. And let me play you what he said about his top line number back then. Well, what's your bottom line? The question is, this is over $1 trillion.
The bottom line?
Bernie Sanders wants $6 more trillion. What are you? How far are you willing to go?
I want to make sure we pay for it. I do not want to add more debt on. So if that's $1 trillion or $1.5 or $2 trillion, whatever that comes out to be over a 10-year period, that's what I would be voting for.
So, I mean, basic math tells me if you have Sinema and you have Manchin both unwilling to go above
If you just listen, Jonathan, if you just listen to what Manchin said, he said he wants it to be paid for. He's right. I want it to be paid for. And in fact, that is exactly what we are going to do. And if it's $3.5 trillion, we can pay for it because, as everybody knows, you got some of the wealthiest people in this country who in a given year don't pay a penny in federal income tax. Large corporations don't pay a nickel in federal income tax. So if Manchin wants to pay for it, I'm there. Let's do it. And by the way, you can pay for it at $3.5 trillion. You can pay for it at $6 trillion. We have massive income and wealth inequality in this country.
But
as you know, we can do that.
I mean, as you know, what he's saying is the only taxes he's willing to go to would give you at most $2 trillion. We also heard.
You see, then that's in.
I mean, that's where he is. And Terry McAuliffe, who, of course, is on the ballot running in Virginia, is saying that $3.5 trillion is simply too big. It's going to hurt Democrats. And he thinks it might even hurt him in his own race in Virginia.
Well, Terry McAuliffe, I wish Terry McAuliffe the best of luck. I hope he becomes the governor of Virginia again. But let him focus on Virginia issues. Some of us got to deal with the national issues. And what I am telling you, ask the American people. whether or not we should have Medicare negotiating prescription prices. Ask them. Ask whether or not we should expand home health care, whether we should make community colleges tuition free, whether or not we should deal with climate. And when we do all of those things, by the way, we create millions of good paying jobs. What we are fighting for is precisely what the American people want, and that's what we've got to do.
Now, that was Senator Sanders talking about the strategy and where he thinks they should go with this both infrastructure bills. Now, I want to talk about this because I think this is very important when it comes to the different programs that are being offered in the second infrastructure bill, the human infrastructure. So we're talking about hearing, vision, dental for seniors. We're talking about the free community college. We're talking about pre-K. So we're talking about a lot of different things that the American people want. And I talked a little bit about this as the video was playing, but when we're looking at how much we can do in a short period of time, I think we're trying to do too much. I really do. And when you get to the point where you start talking about these top line numbers and you start looking at, okay, are we doing too much? I think at this point we are. And I think what needs to happen is they do need to make it less. They need to drop it from 3.5 trillion down to maybe that 2 trillion that President Biden was mentioning and go that route. And the reason that I'm saying that is you can provide those same programs, shorten the length of time that those programs will be out there. And once people start getting these different programs, you start going to free community college for 2 years, guess what? 2 years down the road, you can extend it at that point and then allow more people to do it for another 2 years and then continue to extend it. Once people get a taste of it, they're going to want more. And that's how you go about it. That's how you drop this $3.5 trillion bill down to $2 trillion. And then you have the pay force. So it's not one of those things where you're just adding it to the debt. You're actually paying it off. And not only are you paying it off, but if it's successful, people are going to demand it in the future. And that's what we need to see. We need to have a test. We can't just say, okay, we're going to throw all this money at these different programs, not knowing if they're going to be successful. And so you put a little bit in and you go with the 2 trillion and you have these programs started. And if they work, you're going to have people saying, we think there should be vision, dental, and hearing for seniors. That's something that should be a standard. And so if you provide those programs for 2 years, then you can extend the programs after that. So that's why I think we should go about it. Not trying to do too much, but actually do something so people will see the results. And then once they see those results, then you can move forward. So at this point, we're kind of in limbo. I don't know what's going to happen this week when it comes down to it. We're just going to have to watch and see where it goes. But at this point, you have two good bills. You have the first infrastructure bill, that hard infrastructure that will create jobs. You have the second infrastructure bill that will have a lot of help for the American people. I think they're good bills. However, that second infrastructure bill, you're going to have to drop the top line number down in order for it to get through the Senate. That's just the reality at this point.